You mastered the art of being alone, and now they are so scared. The moment you showed them that you no longer needed anyone to survive was the moment fear quietly entered their hearts and refused to leave, because they had spent so much time believing that loneliness would destroy you, that it would break you, that it would set you apart, it would tear you apart. But instead, you became stronger, wiser, and even harder to control than before. There was a time when they thought silence would weaken you and isolation would make you desperate for attention. But what they failed to understand was that every lonely night taught you lessons that loud crowds could never teach, and every moment you spent by yourself became a secret training ground where your heart learned how to stand without leaning on people who only loved you when you were easy to use. They watched you lose people, lose comfort, even support, and still continue walking with a quiet strength that confused them so deeply, because they expected sadness to swallow you completely. The reason they are scared is because they can no longer control you with absence, because a person who has mastered being alone cannot be threatened with rejection anymore. They remember the days when your heart would panic at the thought of losing people, and they remember how badly you once wanted to be accepted, understood, included, and loved, but something changed inside you after all the disappointments piled up like heavy stones on your chest. Instead of begging the world to finally treat you right, you quietly started building peace within yourself. The peace, that became something nobody could take away from you. They are frightened because they can feel the difference every time you walk into a room, because your energy no longer chases anyone, or your presence no longer asks for permission to exist. You stopped explaining yourself to people who were committed to misunderstanding you, and you stopped shrinking your light just to make insecure people comfortable around you. The silence you once feared has now become your place of power, and the loneliness that once made your heart ache has now become the reason your mind is clear enough to see people exactly for who they are. Many people believed you would eventually return to them begging for connection, because they assumed nobody could survive alone for a very long time. But they underestimated the strength growing inside you while nobody was paying attention. They thought isolation would make you weak, but no. Instead, it sharpened your understanding and opened your eyes to truths you could not see before. You discovered that being alone is not the same as being abandoned, and that changed everything. You learned how to enjoy your own thoughts without needing noise to distract you, and you learned how to protect your energy instead of giving pieces of yourself to people who never appreciated your kindness. While others were desperately searching for attention to fill the emptiness inside them, you, on the other hand, were quietly learning how to become whole without depending on outside validation. That is why your presence feels different, because there is a strength inside of you that was born through pain, silence, disappointment, and survival. You have become someone who can sit alone without feeling empty, and that is one of the rarest forms of strength in this world. Many people stay trapped in unhealthy situations because they fear loneliness more than suffering, but you walked directly through loneliness and discovered that it could not destroy you after all. Instead of becoming smaller through isolation, you became more aware of your value, more protective of your peace, and more confident in your ability to survive difficult seasons without losing yourself completely. Now, the same people who expected your downfall are watching your transformation with confusion written all over their faces, because they never imagined your loneliness would become your greatest teacher instead of your greatest weakness. They thought being alone would make you collapse emotionally, but instead, it taught you how to stand without depending on unstable people for emotional survival. You are no longer afraid of empty rooms, single nights, or temporary distance because you already learned that your strength does not disappear when people walk away from you. That is why they are scared now, because they are finally realizing that the person they once underestimated has become emotionally free, mentally stronger, and spiritually untouchable in ways they can no longer control or fully understand.